Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dynasty After Dark. I'm your host, Calvin Timms, and today we're back with part 2 of our top 12 Dynasty quarterback rankings. If you guys haven't checked it out yet on YouTube, on Spotify, wherever you're listening to the podcast, go listen to Tier 1 breakdown yesterday and get our thoughts there. Some very interesting rankings here in top 12, but I do like the top 12 quarterbacks quite a bit. You know, it feels pretty deep, but you know, it does definitely fall off pretty hard, right around 14 for me. That's where I have a pretty strong teardrop here, but yeah, I like these quarterbacks in Superflex. These guys are all pretty good. And tier 2 of the top guys, these are the guys that are fun because they're a little bit more acquirable on the market than the top guys, right? You know, your Josh Allen, your Jalen Hurts, your Mahomes, these type of guys. Those guys are almost unacquirable. You can't trade them. Untradeable, that's the word I'm looking for here. Like they're just too expensive for what you're going to get back from them. So today we got these tier 2 guys, and that's where it gets a lot of fun. I'm your host, Calvin Timms. You can find me over on Twitter at TDC_Calvin. You can find my co-host Dale on Twitter at Dynasty_Dale. You can hit us up with any questions that you guys might have for your teams for the off season. We're going to be doing stuff all off season long, and you know, the followers are growing, so thank you guys for helping out. If you can, just tell the podcast to one of your friends. We're just trying to grow it, and you know, trying to get this out there to more people. You know, more people have been watching on YouTube, which we appreciate, Spotify, all these things. So thank you guys so much for that. Really do appreciate you guys. That said, Dale, how's it going today?
Hey, it's going very good today.
Yep. It's you know, we're recording this back to back with tier 1, but I just got my first Bijan share. It's interesting, the chat's now finally blowing up, but you know, it was an interesting trade. I'll drop it here really quickly. It was a little bit of an overpay by my opponent, or my trade partner, I guess. I got the 101 and the 208, so basically Bijan in the 208 for Nick Chubb, the 111 and the 23. So what are your thoughts on that quickly?
I think I feel that's a very fair trade, and I feel you.
I definitely would.
Yeah, I
feel
would
like
say that you know I'm not saying that you stole Bijan, but
close. No, I think it was an overpay by about the 2.8. You know, if it would have been a 3rd round pick, it probably would have been fair. But yeah, you know, him adding the 208, just you know, that's why you got to work it in your leagues, man. You got to work it. A lot of people. To be fair though, that was like his 18th pick in this draft, so he might not have cared at all. But for me, I like it. I like it a lot. So. No, I'm excited. I get to pair Bijan with JT and Miles Sanders, and it should be a pretty good year over there. So get to pair him with my top tier quarterback in these tier 2 rankings, my number 7 overall guy, Justin Fields. How do you like that transition right there? My number 7 guy, we're jumping into the quarterback rankings here, is going to be Justin Fields. You can hear Dale's thoughts on Justin Fields in yesterday's episode, you know, but he is a homer for Ohio State. I hated Ohio State until I moved to Ohio. Now I'm a huge fan. It's really weird. It's something in the water, I swear. But no, Justin Fields is my number 7 guy. I do like Justin Fields a lot. But you can see, and you can go and hear my thoughts on the top 6 guys. I have him right behind Lamar Jackson. And, you know, these two are very comparable with what they can do on the ground. Both of them are killer. Both of them have had struggles so far through the air. Now, Lamar Jackson, it's always been a question because Baltimore hasn't been able to get guys around him. Justin Fields, they're at least trying, but it seems like it's the same situation as Baltimore right now, early in his career. Hopefully, they're going to be able to do that, to fix that. Maybe they'll just take JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba at 9 overall and just pair him with Justin Fields and call it a day, because then we'll know quickly whether or not Justin Fields has it through the air. But until then, we're going to have question marks, and that's where the difference between Lamar Jackson and Justin Fields for me is just those question marks right there.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I think, well, I will add something that I didn't say in last episodes, that I think Fields is the better arm talent than Lamar Jackson.
I would agree with that. He has better potential. We'll say that.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I've seen Fields throw these beautiful, beautiful balls that these receivers cannot catch to save their lives.
Yeah,
And
fair.
that's demoralizing. It's for a quarterback. So like at the very least, like Lamar Jackson has had, competent tight end play, decent, at least decent wide receiver play, like with Hollywood and Bateman when they've stayed, healthy.
Hmm.
So, but that's just my opinion. But
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, yeah, so we're going to do it the same way as we did yesterday. We're going to go through all of the tier two, but Justin Fields is my number one guy here, followed by Deshaun Watson with Cleveland, Trevor Lawrence with Jacksonville. Both Fields and Lawrence, Dale had in his top six, so I'll be able to give my thoughts on these two guys here today. Dak Prescott with Dallas, Kyler Murray with Arizona at 11, and Kirk Cousins with Minnesota at number 12. Good old reliable Kirk. You don't need anything flashy, but, he's just going to be that top 12 guy. Meanwhile, Dale's top 7 is Justin Herbert. He's a little bit lower on Herbert. Lamar Jackson at 8. CJ Stroud, the rookie, jumps up to 9 here. He's another homer pick here. But Kyler Murray at 10, Dak Prescott at 11. So we just have those two flip. So that'll be it's pretty interesting. I feel we're probably pretty close then to consensus there. And then Daniel Jones at 12. Daniel, you're giving me a bunch of crap about Kirk Cousins. You got Daniel Jones in your top 12, man. Come on, man.
Running up and down the field. Come on.
Yeah. So that said, now you heard my thoughts here. You can go hear Dale's thoughts on Justin Fields. He likes him a little bit more. He believes in the arm talent with Justin Fields a little bit more. Justin Herbert, explain. I don't think you explained yesterday the full reason why, but why are you so much lower on him than some of these other guys?
I really feel that it's his weapons are getting older and they're getting worse. And I feel Fields's weapons and Lauren's weapons are trending in a positive direction compared to Herbert's are going down.
Sure.
I mean, I do understand that the whole Eckler situation could make things a little different. I honestly, even though Eckler takes some touchdowns away from Herbert, I feel he does help him a lot in the passing game. And, like he is getting a new offensive coordinator, but I feel that takes a little bit of time to kind of get everything to gel. Like it's going to take about half a year to get everything gelling in that offense, in my opinion, because they're going to change things up quite a bit. It's going to be more downfield passes compared to all these dump offs that Joe Lombardi garbagely put in the offense all the time.
He was bad. It was really bad.
It was horrific. It was horrific. So, I do love the talent, but I just like I like the potential of I don't want to say young guys because Herbert's young himself, but
right.
But I feel there's more potential in those two guys than Herbert right now because of some of the things that are going against him coming into this.
Fair enough. And we'll use this to transition a little bit here into Herbert versus Lawrence. Like you have Lawrence one spot ahead of Justin Herbert. Meanwhile, I have Herbert as my number 4 guy and Lawrence as my number 9. Why do you, is it just the weapons that you like Lawrence more than Herbert right now? Because scheme wise, I would say that I'd probably prefer Kellen Moore over Doug Peterson a little bit scheme wise.
Well, I honestly feel that Doug Peterson has always schemed his quarterbacks well.
Sure.
It's going back in with, Carson Wentz, like he was an utter dumpster fire once Peterson wasn't there and able to kind of do what he was able to do with them, and then the same with Nick Foles, like he's able to put his quarterbacks first and to have them perform very, very well. So, sure. I understand the talent with Herbert's there, but I also believe in the talent of Trevor Lawrence. I've seen it firsthand as a Buckeye fan, unfortunately.
Fair enough.
Even though I won't go there today, but I feel I feel there's more talent with Lawrence, and there always kind of has been with, compared to him and Herbert, with Herbert being a later riser in the college game compared to Lawrence.
Sure. And that's where, Lawrence, I like him a lot.
Yep.
I just don't see the potential upside. Here's the thing, because of Peterson, right? Peterson has always loved the running game, and he loves to do it with a committee, right? A full stable of guys, and ETN and whoever they bring in this year to kind of compete with those guys. Did they bring in McKinnon? Was that them? I can't remember off the top of my head. But they have another guy there that they brought in to compete with ETN. And, I just think that they're never going to let the whole offense run through Trevor Lawrence like I believe that the Chargers are going to let it run through Herbert. We've seen Herbert is an amazing deep ball thrower. He makes very, very good decisions. He doesn't have a lot of turnovers. He's kind of more of the Aaron Rodgers type, in my opinion. That's kind of just how he plays. He's safe with the ball. And he's just so freaking athletic, man. He is so good. I love Justin Herbert. I just don't see the upside of Trevor Lawrence, in my opinion. I think Trevor Lawrence is very well-rounded. He can do everything well, but I just think that the ceiling play with Justin Herbert is much higher than Trevor Lawrence. But, I do understand the arguments there. I think Kellen Moore is going to make people reevaluate after this year, but again, it could take a little bit of time, like you said. So we'll see there. But no, I do like Trevor Lawrence. I will say I do have him right behind Deshaun Watson in my rankings. You don't have Deshaun Watson. You took the moral stand, which I get it. I understand it. Pure field play with Deshaun Watson. You can't be encouraged by what we saw in the 6 games that he did play this last year. It was terrible.
Horrible.
But if you go back to the last time he played in Houston, and a lot of that has to be a ring rust, right? He played in 2020 with Houston, 16 games, finishes the quarterback number 5. The 3 seasons that he played all his games in Houston, 5, 5, and 5. He was very, very consistent, finishing as the 5. Pretty solid in the mobility game, 550 yards, 400. Decent amount of rushing touchdowns, pretty solid arm as well. That last year in Houston, 4,800 passing yards, 38 before that, 41 before that. So he was very consistent with Bill O'Brien, and then sits out 2021, has all the accusations come out. He wants the trade. They don't trade him. All that goes on. And then in 2022, gets traded to the Cleveland Browns. They traded a ton for him, gets the fully guaranteed contract, gets the suspension that is now finally out of the way, plays 6 games last year and was terrible. He really was. 170 attempts, 99 completions, 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns, 5 picks, 36 rushing attempts for, 180 yards. It's pretty solid there. You do like to see that from him. Now, this is all for me just based on what we saw in Houston. I do believe that the talent is still there. I do believe that, there was a modicum of ring rust with him that he had to shake off. And, 6 games is not enough for him to fully get back into it. And remember, he had to be away from the practice facility, I think, until week number 8, and he got to play in week, I think, 12 or something like that. So, he had about a month of prep time, but at that point in time, it's full season going, and you don't really have time to kind of just let him take over these practices in week. You're not having practices the same way, everything like that. So going back to Houston, that's kind of what I'm doing. I do believe that I don't actually like the head coach of the Browns very much. I think Kevin Stefanski's a little overrated in my opinion. But I do think that he can scheme up a solid offense, and he's going to be able to make plays for Deshaun Watson to get him open on the ground. More of those scheme runs, design runs there. And then they do have pretty solid weapons. Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, who they just traded for. Yep. I don't love Elijah Moore for fantasy, but for real football, he's a great addition to this team. And then Donovan Peoples-Jones, who had a very good connection with Deshaun Watson at the end of last year. And David Njoku from the tight end, Nick Chubb. So there's a lot of very good weapons, good offensive line. So there's not a ton of holes on this team. You give him another full year of practice reps in the offseason and, training camp and everything. And I think that Deshaun Watson is going to come back out and show people why. And again, this is taking all the off the field stuff. Whatever your stance is on that, I understand. I'm looking at just the football side of things. I do believe that he's still a very talented quarterback. Now, if you, like Dale, can't get over that stuff, I understand that. I'm just going based purely on the player himself for football reasons. So, that's up to each and every one of you guys out there. But for me personally, I just think that, I'm not judging him. So I'm not my condemnation of his actions isn't going to change it, right? So
yeah, no, yeah.
So that's my whole thing. Like all these guys, like what was it? Kareem Hunt kicked the chick in the head. It's like, I don't like that, but he still scores a lot of fantasy points. So I want to win.
That is very true. And I feel you have to draft with your heart sometimes too. Well, it's your head and your heart. In some instances. So, I don't have Deshaun Watson on my team, and there's other reasons behind it, but
that's fair. No, I definitely agree with you.
Yeah. So I think my biggest worry is how the Cleveland Browns played last year with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah,
they were
bad.
It was a dumpster fire. It was bad.
To be fair,
it was the running game was bad. The throwing game.
I agree.
It was just they were so discombobulated with him being there and not having Brissett being that adult in the room.
Sure.
And they're going to this guy that they just met a month ago.
Right. I mean, he was there before. I think he was there for most of training camp, and then he kind of had to.
So it's different when you have. Yeah, it's different when you're actually playing and you're having to rely on somebody.
Sure. I also think there's a little bit of a combination too of when he came in against Houston. First off, it's hilarious against Houston. Has a terrible performance in that game, but I think they still won that game too, which is hilarious.
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
But comes back against Houston in Week 13. The team is basically eliminated from playoffs at that point in time. Nobody's really playing with the same ferocity at that point. There's been so many studies where these guys come out and they say, after you're eliminated, you kind of throw in the towel mentally, and you're not just playing with the same 100% every snap, right? So it's the end of the season. They're pretty much eliminated from playoffs. Then they go into the winter months, December months, and they're at Cincinnati, all these outdoor stadiums. And it's like, yeah, that's probably not the best for a rusty quarterback to be playing in Cincinnati, in Baltimore, against New Orleans, in all of these outdoor games, right? At Washington, at Pittsburgh. Literally all 5 of his last games were outside. So it's just, it's a very rough time for him to come back, and, just circumstances wise. But again, I think that the player himself will jump back into that. And I think we've seen it again. Ceiling for me with my rankings is kind of the tiebreaker essentially. And I do believe that the ceiling for Deshaun Watson, we saw it 3 straight years of quarterback number 5. I think that he has a higher ceiling than Trevor Lawrence, who again is very, very good, but I just think that he's more well-rounded, and he's going to be a solid, back half of the first. There's going to be years where Trevor Lawrence probably doesn't finish as a quarterback number 1. And, there's going to be years when he finishes as the top 5 guy. He's a little bit more volatile to me, just based on what we've seen through basically 1 year with Doug Peterson, right? But that's just kind of the difference there. So I'm betting on the stability of Deshaun Watson returning, but I do understand all of the concerns there. So we'll move on here. The biggest one for you, we'll talk about C.J. Stroud breaking in at number 9 over Kyler Murray, over Dak Prescott. You're that big of a believer, huh?
Yes. I've seen the talent. I've been seeing him the past couple years. And I feel I do watch a lot more college football than you do, so
sure.
I get a little bit different perspective of these guys. And with him being Ohio State, I feel I do have a personal bias with Stroud, but I know he's the guy. Like, he has pinpoint accuracy, like he's able to put it wherever he needs to, and he's been making NFL throws for the past 2 years. It's because he's been throwing to NFL talent.
Right.
So, I feel that's really helped him progress as a quarterback, and especially what we saw against Georgia. I feel, I know he didn't play like that all year, but I knew that
that was
the guy.
He definitely has it.
And then for I believe his first collegiate snap was like a 48-yard touchdown against Michigan State.
Right.
It honestly was. So, like he's sneaky athletic.
Hmm.
I don't think he's going to run for like 400 or 500 yards. I don't see that, but I see him being a very solid
Joe Burrow.
passer. What's that?
You see him as Joe Burrow, basically, right?
Yeah, yes. I do see him as Joe Burrow. I see him as very, very solid. I can also see him as like a Justin Herbert type too.
Sure.
You know,
Sure. Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
and just being a very solid passer. I mean, not being super flashy, but being very accurate, just being very, very steady, very solid. Like he has a very solid demeanor. Like he doesn't get too down, too up, and I find those qualities, I find those as very good qualities for a quarterback that we see succeed in this league.
Fair enough. Yeah, and that's where, him with more than likely, we're assuming he's going to Carolina. It's
Yep.
almost all but confirmed
Yep.
at this point in time, right? Until the NFL draft. But, he's either going to Carolina or he's going to Houston. I will say neither one of those really have the best landing spot, or neither one is the best landing spot. Carolina has some holes in the skill players pretty much everywhere. I do like DJ Chark. I do like Adam Thielen, but man alive, that's not the greatest group of receivers you could be throwing to.
Right.
And Houston, they've got Nico Collins, maybe John Mechie if he's healthy.
Yeah.
Or John Mechie. What did I say? Did I say Nico Mechie? I have no idea.
Collins, yeah. So it's with Stroud though. Like he's gonna be in divisions that are very soft.
Oh,
and
yeah,
don't
for
have,
sure.
and don't have as good defenses.
Yep.
And he's gonna be playing those guys. Well, I mean they might have top-ish, like mid defenses, but
I don't think so. Neither one of those divisions has a good like the Colts have a good division. Like if he goes to Houston, the Colts are probably the best defense in that division. And that's about it. I mean, Tennessee has nothing. Jacksonville has youth at least, but not a great scheme right now. And then the Colts are good. But if he goes to like the Panthers, Tampa Bay, they've got older guys. New Orleans, older guys, and Atlanta has no defense on the field half the game. So it's not bad.
So,
it's definitely not bad.
Yeah. So I mean that's why I'm excited about him. I think wherever he goes, he's gonna succeed. It is gonna take him a little bit to kind of pick it up, but I feel with having Ryan Day and Brian Hartline really teach those wide receivers how to run NFL routes. I feel that's helped his progression as a quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, the reason why I don't have him as top 12, I am hedging my bets a little bit, just because of the unknown of the rookie. Like, I like him a lot. You don't have to sell me on him. I'm with you on him.
Right.
He's in my next tier, my next group of guys. But, it's just until we can see it and can kind of confirm it, I probably will never have a rookie up this high. Like, I just can't trust these guys that much. But I do understand it. If he does hit, if he is what we expect him to be, this does feel about right. So no, you're just kind of you're jumping forward about a year, and we'll see if you're right or not. But
my best.
No, you're definitely putting it out there. So I can respect that. Now, next two guys we have them flip flop: Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray. You have Kyler above Dak. Dak, basically, I just think that he's going to be – I have him one spot ahead just because he's going to be healthy at the start of the year. Yep. That's kind of the only thing there.
I get that.
Kyler Murray, kind of a fall from grace. He used to be a top 5 guy. Definitely not the best situation. There's a very real chance that he gets traded from Arizona next year, but we'll see how that goes. I don't really want to future cast too much there. He's still a good player. Like, when he plays for fantasy football, he's still good, but – there's just so much off the field stuff that it makes me nervous with him. I don't love to hear it, but it's just, it definitely doesn't give you good feelings about him, but you got to respect the talent. The guy is still a very, very good player. Dak Prescott, they have elite weapons there. Brandon Cooks, CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard, maybe Bijan Robinson. Dude, if they got Bijan, as a new Bijan owner, I'm very excited. I'm very invested in where he goes now. Before, I did not care. I just kind of wanted him to go to the worst spot ever. But now that I have a share, it's just, please go to somewhere good.
A lot different.
Yeah, right. But, I do believe that they probably won't go Bijan. I actually think that they'll probably go like a Michael Mayer, Dalton Kincaid, one of these guys later in the first round. They
I
need
agree.
to fix up that tight end position. They lost Dalton Schultz. I know they have like 18 guys, Hendershot and Ferguson and these other guys who
They're all not very good.
they're all Jags, right? Just another guy.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I think that they could definitely use a guy there, but Michael Gallup, that's a good trio of receivers. Tony Pollard is still a good running back, and they can get someone like a Zach Charbonnet, Tank Bigsby, Kendre Miller, some of these later guys, even a Sean Tucker to pair with Tony Pollard would be fine in my book, right? So definitely has the talent there. And again, Arizona is not a bad landing spot. At least Kyler's not playing this year because that team is in full rebuild. Like, holy cow. They need
bad.
Dude, it is rough. They need a
bad.
full offensive line. They need like 2 receivers because they're probably trading DeAndre Hopkins, right? They've got a tight end, which is great. The running back is getting older in James Conner, and the defense is in shambles. Like, I don't really care about the defense for Kyler Murray, but they need so much help on the offensive line. It is nuts. They better start fixing that up now. Like, because the development time, now is the perfect time to get those guys, let them get their lumps out and fix it up. But, it's kind of good Kyler's not playing now. So
yes, 100%. And, I will probably end up changing my rankings probably before the season starts.
sure,
Honestly,
kind of tweaking them up.
and yeah, so I do understand the whole Dak Prescott thing. I think for this year definitely he's going to be better, but he's how old's Prescott? I think he's
28, I believe.
he's 29. So he's 29 right now. He's like 4 years older than Kyler Murray, which in fantasy perspective that does make a little difference,
Sure.
in quarterback play. And I feel Murray has a little bit better floor with running compared to Dak anymore since
Right.
his ankle got obliterated a couple
Right.
years ago.
Right.
So, which I fully understand. I wouldn't want to run if my ankle got exploded like his did. So,
It was worse when he exploded it himself, never try and knock your own ankle back into place, but whatever.
Wow.
Yeah. Learn that one the hard way.
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely. So, I do like Dak's situation, and he has better weapons because Arizona's a dumpster fire. I can see next year once Murray gets back, he'll have like a Justin Fields like season where he's trying to run for his life every play, and it's either going to be a fantastic play or it's going to be a turnover or something gross. So,
yep. No, I'm with you. So, no, we both agree these guys are very, very close, splitting hairs here. Like the other guys, again, like a Trevor Lawrence, just more upside, more stability. Dak Prescott, he's on the downtrend a little bit. He's lost a little bit of that mobility, and that's kind of hurt him a little bit. Kyler Murray is just all the off the field stuff and, the injury. So it's just, he could rebound pretty heavily next year, but for right now, I just don't think I can value him up there. Like a Trevor Lawrence could solidify himself above a Kyler Murray this year if he has a very, very good season. So that's kind of just the reason behind that ranking. Now, the interesting one for me is this last guy for both of us, right? So you have Daniel Jones as your number 12 guy. I've got Kirk Cousins. So, they both are basically perennial. So Daniel Jones finishes the quarterback number 9 last year. So I can't take it away from him too much there. But Kirk Cousins has been disrespected for too long. I will not stand for the Kirk Cousins slander. As a Kirk Cousins truther, since he became a starter in 2015, this is crazy, man. That was 8 years. 8 years. He's had 2 seasons as not a quarterback number 1. And one of those years, he was quarterback 13. So he's one slot off. And then the other year was quarterback 19. That was his second year with Minnesota. So anytime he's not with Zimmer, he's been a quarterback 1, like top quarterback. Kirk Cousins was the quarterback number 6 last year. And this is all with no rushing upside whatsoever. This is why I like Kirk Cousins so much. Again, we kind of touched on it a little bit with your Joe Burrow versus, like Jalen Hurts rankings. Why you like Burrow more, right, is because he's more of a prototypical passer. He doesn't have the mobility factor, so he's safer, right? When you can continuously do that through the air every single year. Kirk Cousins has done it his whole career. And, I just think that we need to start respecting it a little bit more. First year with the new head coach, the Sean McVay style system where he thrived in Washington, where he was the quarterback 10, 5, and 6 in Washington, goes to the Zimmer offense where it's run, 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 run. We can't let the quarterback be the main piece of this offense. 13, 19, 11, 11. Back to that old system, quarterback 6. I just don't think it's a coincidence, right? Like when you give Kirk Cousins the ability to throw the ball, the team is better. The games are more exciting. Like it's just more fun. And he's a good quarterback. He really, really is. Now they need to do something for his wide receiver 2 spot here. That's where I'm most concerned. Justin Jefferson is the dude. Like he is the guy.
Right.
They had Adam Thielen for a long period of time, but Thielen is just getting way too old. Now he's with the Panthers. They're replacing him with KJ Osborne. I could see them going pretty heavily for like a Jordan Addison. A lot of people have them on Jordan Addison in this upcoming draft, a Quentin Johnston, somebody like opposite of Justin Jefferson, and just let this team cook. And that would be awesome. The Dalvin Cook rumors are he's either going to play for the team, take a pay cut, or get cut. So
that's going to be interesting and see what happens with that. Because I do feel, I like Alexander Madison, but I feel
he's good.
There is a drop off between him and Dalvin Cook.
Not a huge one, to be fair, but the upside is a little bit less, right? But the floor is still pretty high with Alexander Madison. But I just love those Dalvin Cook rumors, man. Like, why even report that? He's either going to play for the team, get cut, or take a pay cut. So
it's because it's the NFL offseason.
I know, man. It's just so dumb. It's like, so literally nothing is decided. Anything can happen. Great. Thank you for reporting. But no, I do like Kirk Cousins. So sell me on why you're so much higher on Daniel Jones.
I do have a question before I go to Daniel Jones about Kirk Cousins. So what happens if the Vikings draft Hendon Hooker?
I mean,
how would that change your ranking on Kirk Cousins? Because I have seen him mock there in a couple mocks. Like I think Bucky Brooks had a mock a couple days ago with Hendon Hooker going there, and I think that could be very interesting.
Here's the problem, right? You're talking. I know why you picked Hendon Hooker because I love Hendon Hooker, right? But here's the problem, right? Kirk Cousins has done nothing so far in any of his years of playing time. The only thing he can't do is win the super critical games, right?
From a play,
right? From a play perspective, from a performance perspective, Kirk Cousins is a very good quarterback. Real life NFL and even for fantasy football. Yes, he folds under the big games. I understand that. He's got that mental hurdle there. There's no world I can see where Hendon Hooker is going to be able to take the job away from a Kirk Cousins for a few years, right? He's going to sit behind him as the backup until Kirk Cousins, until they cut him or trade him. And I just think that Kirk Cousins has done nothing to establish the need to get traded. Like, he's not on the downswing. It's not like he had a bad season. You know what I mean? Like Aaron Rodgers is getting traded because he had a bad year with the Packers and they want to get rid of him, right? The only thing with Kirk Cousins is just the contract. And
that's what I was about to say. It's the money involved.
Right. And that's where
the biggest thing.
Right. And it's never like he's like the top guy, but it's like, you can figure that out. You know, maybe Kirk Cousins walks because of that reason, but that's his choice. I don't think the team is going to choose to let him go. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to cut him. They're not going to trade him unless it's for an amazing package. And if they trade him, it's going somewhere that's probably like the Niners or something, you know what I mean? For like Trey Lance. So I don't see anything changing my ranking on him because I just don't see any rookie coming in and outplaying Kirk Cousins.
No, and that is very fair. No, I definitely see that, but I just wanted to get you all all riled up with two people you love.
I know. It would make me sad because I do love Hendon Hooker. I want him to have a chance. That's the problem. I don't think Kirk Cousins gives him a chance.
Right.
All right. Now defend yourself on Daniel Jones.
All right.
You son
Danny
of
Dimes, aka Vanilla Vic. He is a conundrum in the fantasy community. Some love him, some hate him. I think he played very, very well with Brian Daboll last year. He played very smart. He played a little safe at times, but it was very good. Like like he only had 5 picks this last year. He only had 15 touchdowns, which that's his second most in his 4-year career. If that makes you feel better, it doesn't make me feel a whole lot better. But
no.
but you know, I think his play was. I don't want to say it was Josh Allen like, but it's like Josh Allen light. I guess you could say is that he was that like Daboll was able to kind of tame the wild horse of Josh Allen, and now he's with Daniel Jones, who is quiet as a mouse but is very hectic on the football field, and he's kind of
got the rushing upside for sure.
Yes, he does have the rushing upside, and he's kind of put him more in a box where Jones can succeed, and he's able to succeed with the weapons that he has.
Sure.
Now on the wide receiver end, like he had Kenny G to throw to, who caught like 4 passes in 4 years. It felt like
he's not had a good wide receiver in a couple years. To be fair to Daniel Jones, it's been very. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it's been very up and down in the wide receiver room. You know, he's going to have a lot more competent pass catchers, coming up, you know, like Paris Campbell's going to be there. Like they have tons of slot guys that are going to catch passes.
They only have slot guys and Darius Slayton. That's all they have.
Yes, but which honestly I'm okay with, because like if he just throws it and they can take it.
They need an alpha dog though. They need to get somebody. That's why they're linked so heavily to like Brandon Ayuk, Jerry Jeudy. I honestly think they're going to be the one team in this draft that trades for a wide receiver, like the A.J. Brown of last year. Like they're just going to trade for one of these guys that needs paid, like a T. Higgins or whatever. Whoever it is, they're going to do it because they just need an alpha dog. Jerry Jeudy would be hilarious because it's just another slot guy, really. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I think it's going to be an Ayuk personally. I just think that there's too much smoke to that fire.
Yeah, I agree.
And the Niners need to move him. They need a first-round pick. There's just it just makes too much sense for both sides. Yes. So I just think that once you get a wide receiver core for Daniel Jones, you're projecting a little bit here, right? Admittedly, you're projected.
Absolutely.
And I'm giving you a hard time. I have Daniel Jones at 16, so I'm I'm not that much lower,
close.
But
it's close, but it is a tier or two different. I agree.
Yep. But there's a lot of potential there. We just don't know what he can do through the air because he's never had a competent group of guys. And this might be the year finally, but they still have a few offensive line issues, but I think he's got mobility now and he's been able to show that. They've got Saquon Barkley back on the franchise tag. So I think that there is the potential for him to be a top 10 guy again. He was quarterback number 9 last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, the biggest thing for me is just the safety of Kirk Cousins. So that's why I have him so much higher. But I do understand the argument for Daniel Jones.
Yeah, no, I fully understand that. You know, and I'm kind of doing mine. I'm projecting. I'm trying to project a little bit more because, you know, I feel I'm pretty decent at like redraft. Sure. You know, I think I probably would pick Cousins over Daniel Jones, you know, in general.
Now, there is the age factor for Daniel Jones. Yeah. So if you're right, 25 versus 34 for Kirk Cousins, but
a big jump.
Yeah, it's definitely. But the one nice thing for Kirk Cousins, I will say, dude has never missed a game. Like he just does not get injured at all. Yeah. You look at his career. The only time he sat out was in 2019 in Minnesota, and I think they had the playoff berth locked up, so he sat that last game, right? So like ever since he's become a starter, 16, 16, 16, 16, 16, 16, 17, 17, like just never misses a game, never gets injured. So he's Mr. Reliable, but no, it's definitely a good argument there. So any last thoughts on Daniel Jones before we get out of here?
Nope.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us for our second half of the tier 1 quarterback rankings. Now, again, we're going to be updating these throughout the season. Hopefully at some point this offseason, we're going to give you the next group of guys, the tier 2 group, the 13 through 18 and based 13 through 24. We'll say it that way. That's probably a better way to say it. But until then, thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you're on the podcast, liking, following, subscribing, leaving a comment, telling the podcast to one of your friends. We're just trying to grow this bad boy. But no, we appreciate you guys. Again, like I said at the beginning of the episode, we appreciate you guys so much. You guys have been helping us a ton lately, and the podcast has just been growing pretty steadily for a while now, and it's just been great to see. So thank you guys again for joining us. You can find me over on Twitter again at TDC_Calvin. Find Dale on Twitter at Dynasty_Dale. Hit us up with any questions you guys might have. But until next time, thanks for joining us. Have a good night.